नानाशास्त्रविचारेकनिपुनो सह धर्मसंस्थापकं लोकानां हितकारिणो त्रिभुवने महनयो शरण्याकरो राधाकृष्णपदारविन्द्रभजना नन्देन मत्तालिकयो वन्दे रूपसनातनो रघुजुगो श्रीजीवगोपालको वन्दे रूपसनातनो रघुजुगो श्रीजीवगोपालको. Hare Krishna. So thank you all for joining in once again for our Saturday afternoon Bhakti Shastri classes in English. We are discussing from Nectar of Devotion. Let me just get my slides in place over here. Correct. And we are going to resume our discussion from the 5th chapter of Nectar Devotion. As a culture, as a practice that we started, or we resumed rather, in this book is we start with a shloka recitation. All right, so let's take a look at it. Everyone together. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadhyanavrtam anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhaktiruttama sarvapadi vinirmuktam tatparatvena nirmalam ऋषिकेशा ऋषिकेना सेवनं भक्तिरुच्यते अतः श्रीकृष्णनामादि न भवेत् ग्राह्यमिन्द्रिये सेवन्मुखे हि जीवादौ स्वयम् एवा स्फुरति यतः अनासक्तस्य विषयान् यथारमुपयुञ्जुताः निर्बन्धकृष्णसम्बन्धि युक्तं वैराग्यमुच्यते. Hare Krishna. So today we are on the 10th lesson. We have, although we are on the 5th chapter, we're going to start the 5th chapter, but we're on the 10th lesson. In other words, we have defined our lessons topic wise to help you relate with this subject. And if you go on your student dashboard under the courses where you'll find Nectar Devotion, you'll find the titles for each of these lessons. And we have also a video recording of what would be getting recorded now, also as per the lesson. And by the help of devotees, there are also quizzes being prepared for all of you, which you can attempt. Before we begin with that, just for my sanity check, how many of you have already accessed Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu course on the website? Can you raise your hand? How many of you have accessed and checked out maybe let's say about PowerPoints or maybe video links? So what is the status with all of the devotees in terms of why their cameras are off? Did I start the class on time? Up ready for the class or what? Okay. So how many of you have actually attempted the quizzes which are there on the portal? So it's part of your study module. So do visit it and try it out. So at least you'll have some familiarity with the subject matter. It's just to help you have a better understanding. All right. I can't really compel or impel. I can just recommend. Let's begin our discussion. We are on the 5th chapter, the Pure Devotion Service. Because all of you have been pre-reading the chapters and coming for the session as we had planned and decided, and all of you had agreed. So why don't I start the session with a short quiz and then we'll resume our discussion. All right. So let's go to chapter 1, not chapter 1. Let's begin with the introduction. Let's begin with preface. Can anyone tell me one point about each of these discussions what we had? What is preface primarily about? A quick recap. A surprise test. because how soon NOD will get over, you'll not understand. It's just a matter of few more sessions. So, what is preface about? If you remember, what is that one thing? There are many things, but one thing that's preface defines. Okay, so maybe let me begin with giving an answer to this one. Hopefully, all of you will be able to give answer for next question. So, preface, yes. Who is going? Raise your hand so I can call your name. Mother Priyanka was trying to say something. Anyone wish to say something, you can raise your hand. Yes, Mother Priyanka, go ahead.
It is about Bhakti Yoga.
Yeah, the book is about Bhakti Yoga, which is correct. So that's a good answer. Preface is about Bhakti Yoga because the book is about Bhakti Yoga. No doubt about it. What is a preface? Preface gives us the definition of the title of this book, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. The three things which are described in preface: a brief history of the author, Srila Rupa Goswami. Second thing, a definition of the title of the book, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And third, what is the aim of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the aim of NOD, which was written, preface was written by Srila Prabhupada in 13th April, on 13th April 1970. All right. Then we come to introduction. Uh, we explained this point in our session while we were talking introduction. This is not an introduction to a text or to the book as such. This is the introduction to the main premise of this subject matter. Who is to whom this devotional service to be rendered? Akhil Rasamrita Sindhu. Krishna has been addressed by Srila Rupa Goswami as one who is the king of all rasas. And that's how introduction starts. Anyone remember what was the subject matter of introduction? We have done it this way: lessons as well as some take home, you can say, what message you can call it. So, what is the main thing from introduction? Yes, Varun Prabhu.
Two, three things we noted down, Prabhuji. I guess one was about the invoking of the Mangalacharan.
Auspicious, yes, Mangalacharan. Okay, correct. Then,
and then what is the subject matter of uh, this the nectar of devotion when we talk about, just like you just mentioned, Akhil Rasamrit Murti, we mentioning about Krishna, who is the highest melt with the Madhurya Rasa.
So first thing is correct. There are कहते हैं Mangalacharan. Second thing is table of content, which Srila Rupa Goswami himself gives. And the third thing in the introduction is about the definition of pure devotional service. Anyone remembers the shloka of pure devotional service? That's okay. That's okay. Thank you for the time. Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Yes, correct. All right. So that was introduction. All right. What's the status with Sonam, Nikhil, Giridhari, Gopinath, Prabhu, Madan, Mohan, Mother Kamalikai? Why are you signed in?
Correct.
Okay, Giridhari, Prabhu. I guess you're on duty, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Okay, okay. Fine. So that was a little bit the refresher here, because we are about to start into the next series of discussion. So I thought let's do a quick refresher and let's see where are we so far on our understanding. Okay, chapter 1, characteristics of pure devotion service. What was the subject matter of chapter 1? What is Rupa Goswami talking about here in this chapter? Who can give me a quick summary of it? I believe in this discussion, as well as previously, also I told you how to read Prabhupada books, how to give titles to the paragraphs when you're reading. So it's very easy for you to recap, revisit, or revise. Imagine if you have an exam next Sunday, you have to read the whole book by yourself. It's gonna be very difficult. You're gonna really tremble that time because it's a little complex. Okay, Mother Priyanka, your hand is up again. Go ahead. What's the answer?
Cause of all suffering is material desires or ignorance. Material
Okay,
desires
okay.
which
Thank you. Valid point. What is the main subject matter? What is the main subject? That is a subset. What is the main subject matter of chapter 1? Characteristics of pure devotion service.
Yes.
The chapter title tells you the main subject matter.
It brings relief from material distress.
No. The main subject matter is there are 6 characteristics of pure devotional service. It's in the title only. It's in the title only. What are the 6 characteristics of pure devotional service? Now, that's the second question. Who remembers that shloka? I'll give you 100 out of 100 in your shloka test. Your shloka test is done now right away. If you can quote me this shloka. Why I'm saying? Because this is not part of your shloka test. So it means you are eager to learn some extra shlokas. What is that? Kleshagni Shubhadha. Okay, देख देख के पढ़ रहे हो हाँ? All right, repeat after me. Kleshagni Shubhadha. Mokshalagatukrit sudurlabha.
मोक्षलाभात् कृत्सुदुर्लभा
Sandarananda Visheshatma.
सान्दरानन्द विशेषात्मा
Shri Krishna Akarshani Chasa.
श्रीकृष्णाकर्षणी च सा.
Who will tell me the meaning now? Okay, Mother Anjana, your hand is up. Okay, Varun Prabhu, tell the name. Mother Anjana, go ahead quickly.
My hand is up for to say the characteristics of devotional service.
Yeah, that's a question. Okay, let's go ahead. That's
That
a
was after this.
Okay, go ahead, give the 6
Can you-
characteristics. I just gave the Sanskrit.
First is Klesha Agni. It brings immediate relief from all kinds of material distress.
Okay, second.
Second is Subhada,
Okay,
beginning of all auspiciousness.
okay.
Third is Sudurlabha. It is really rarely achieved.
Okay.
Sudurlabha, which is difficult to achieve. Fourth is Sandharananda.
No, that is fifth.
Vishesh Atma.
That is fifth one. You missed one.
Okay.
Kleshagni Shubhada Moksha Lagutukrit Sudurlabha.
Moksha.
Laghu.
It Laghu, yes. It derides the conception of liberation.
Fourth is Sudurlabha. And fifth is Sandarananda Visheshatma. What is that?
Vishesha. It automatically puts us on the transcendental pleasure. We can.
Okay. So what was the sixth one?
Krishna Karsani. Sri Krishna Karsani. It is the attraction towards Krishna.
No, even Krishna gets attracted. Attracts Krishna, not our attraction. Krishna is attracted to the bhakti. Example is Srimati Radhani. So, okay, this was one of the very, very important subject, and there are a lot of details into the subject matter. I'm just kind of opening a little recap here, so hopefully all of you can revisit and review either the lesson for this on your student dashboard, or at least solve the quizzes, so at least you know what you remember or what you don't remember. All right, chapter number 2, the first stages of devotion. What does chapter 2 talks about? Chapter 2, the first stages of devotion. So chapter 2 talks
of
please raise your hand, I'll call upon. So chapter 2 here is saying, it talks about sadhana bhakti. What is sadhana bhakti? Sadhana bhakti is Vedi sadhana bhakti, Ragunaga bhakti. What is sadhana bhakti? These are types of it. What is sadhana bhakti? How many types of bhakti are there?
3 types of bhakti are there.
No, there are only 2 types of
devotional
bhakti.
service in
2 types of bhakti. Yeah.
There are only 2 types.
Prabhu, sadhana bhakti, bhava bhakti, and prema bhakti. 3 types.
No, there are 2 types, sadhana and sadhya. They are divided into sadhana, bhava, and prema. Bhakti is only in practice and in ecstasy. But because of anartha, some of that remain. Therefore, the bhava bhakti has been added in that way. So both the way it can be looked at it. It's not that it's right and wrong. I poked it over there further just to have sadhana sadhya also that way. So correct. So sadhana and sadhya, sadhana bhava prema bhakti. What is sadhana bhakti?
Sadhana bhakti, Prabhu, you said that sadhana means practice. Basically, by practicing, becoming skilled. and then means you are going to a platform and get a purification of your all this. And usually practice is the main thing. Vaidhi Bhakti.
So
Vaidhi
in this, this is again a very important subject matter. Prabhupada called Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu as a law book for ISKCON for all the time to come. And one of the aspects of it is to help us discriminate and distinguish between a true practitioner and a fake. So here my question is, what is the need of sadhana bhakti? Why can't we
to
dance in
purify your heart.
ecstasy, and chant Radhe Radhe, wander in the forest of Vrindavan? Why we have to live in city? Why we have to struggle in city life, perform our duties? Let's give up everything, move to Vrindavan, live there, chant there. You're engaging minor sadhya. Doesn't it engage in bhava prema bhakti? Sadhya bhakti also minor sadhya engaged. So key point is sadhana bhakti actually qualifies us for the later stages, advanced stages of bhakti. We cannot prematurely jump into the later stages or advanced stages of bhakti. Therefore, Srila Rupa Goswami have introduced this what is called as sadhana bhakti. You begin your practice from sadhana bhakti. Srila Haridas Thakur, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it is almost later stages of his life, and he is keeping very sick and very ill. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to visit Srila Haridas Thakur, and he asked Haridas Thakur, how are you doing? And he said, Chaitanya Prabhu, I'm suffering, I'm struggling. Chaitanya Prabhu asked, what happened? He said, I'm not able to do my quota of chanting. How much? 192 rounds. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, that's enough. You don't have to. Bola, no, I cannot. So if you take a look at that, our acharyas very strictly adhere to sadhana practice of bhakti in that way. So that was a sadhana bhakti, and there are two stages, Vaidhi sadhana bhakti and Raganuga bhakti. Okay, Raganuga we didn't discuss much, so I'll skip it. That we're going to discuss when that chapter begins. So this was about sadhana bhakti. So that was in chapter 1 or chapter 2. What was chapter 3 about? Eligibility of the candidate for accepting devotional service. So in chapter 3, types of devotees have been described. But prior to that, what is the subject matter? How I came into Krishna consciousness. The eligibility to take to Krishna consciousness. And what is the eligibility to begin Krishna consciousness? What is the eligibility to begin Krishna consciousness? Or what is the requirement? Vidyapati Prabhu? Yes, Prabhu.
Mercy of the Lord and attraction to the Krishna.
Okay, thank you for the whole answer that way. So eligibility for beginning Krishna consciousness is attraction. And then Srila Rupa Goswami says, from where does attraction comes? From the practice of devotional service. But you cannot practice devotional service unless you have attraction. So from where did it all start? It started from Bhakti Unmukha Sukriti. Oh, Bhakti Unmukha Sukriti? What is Bhakti Unmukha Sukriti? Which means in some lifetime or one lifetime or some X lifetime, each one of us had practiced devotional service unknowingly. Unknown factor. Oh, how can I practice unknowingly? There comes the causeless mercy of Vaishnavas. Because some devotee engaged us knowingly or unknowingly in devotional service, either encouraging us to chant the holy name of the Lord or distributing Krishna Prasad to us. Some way, we were engaged, and because of that, devotional life began. So that's the idea. So it all begins with devotee. What does it conclude about bhakti? What does it conclude about bhakti? Bhakti begins by the causeless mercy of a devotee. So bhakti only depends on bhakti, nothing else. That's the point. And that is what our chapter for today, chapter number 5, the purity of devotion service. Okay, that was eligibility. About it begins with itna. And then the types of devotees were described. While types of devotees, neophyte, Kanishta, Madhyama, Uttama Adhikari are described. So to begin bhakti, we need attraction. To make advancement in bhakti, what do we need? Now this answer you all should know. You should memorize this. Last time I made you even write it down.
Yeah, one needs faith.
One is faith and
faith is needed.
Faith and
is
knowledge.
Knowledge.
They both are interlinked. Tat Shunu Krishna says in 7th chapter, verse number 1, and he says, by hearing you develop knowledge, and from knowledge comes faith. So, to make advancement in bhakti, we need knowledge and faith. Thus, on the basis of one's faith, there are categories of devotees. One who has a minimal faith is Kanishta, who has a fixed faith is his Madhyama, who is firm in his bhakti with knowledge and Shraddha, that is called as Uttamadhikari. Like that, there are three gradations described by Srila Rupa Goswami in the following discussion of eligibility to begin and now to make advancement in bhakti. While making this discussion, then Srila Rupa Goswami said, well, in Bhagavad Gita, there are 4 kinds of pious living entities are also described who can take to bhakti. Not who can take to bhakti, who comes to Krishna. So in what category of Kanishta, Madhyama, Uttama they come? And Rupa Goswami says they don't come to any category because they are not adhikari. What is now adhikari means? What is the meaning of adhikari? Yes, Vaikuntapati Prabhu, go ahead please. Yes.
I had raised the hand for the previous question. Anyway, I'll answer this.
Oh, okay. Maybe I just saw this
no,
now.
it's okay. It doesn't matter.
Yes,
Adhikari
yes.
means one who has got the one who is chanting the holy name of the Lord at whatever level, and one who has taken up to the bhakti process is adhikari. He may be at the lower level of bhakti, but still he has been given the what do you call that? He has been given the privilege to chant the holy name of the Lord.
Correct. And just to add to that, adhikari for what? Adhikari for practicing pure devotional service. And how has he become adhikari?
By the costless mercy of the devotees.
No.
Spiritual master.
No. How has he become adhikari?
Punya.
Huh? No.
Spiritual master.
How has
Mercy
he
of Guru.
Huh?
To the Krishna.
For the mercy
Good
of
person.
Guru and Krishna.
No, he has become adhikari. Why? Because he has willfully and consciously surrendered to the lotus feet. I guess there is some fundamental lack of understanding here. Okay, just before I go over, let me just ask you this question. I'm a little bit going off the tangent now, but let's see how much we have depth of understanding in this regard. Who remembers the name of the demons killed by Balramji? Okay, maybe I should not put this question, it could get a little difficult.
Dhenukasura.
Okay, Dhenukasura, that. And? Okay, so it's a homework for all of you. The 2 demons killed by Balramji, Dhenukasur, Dhechu, and Pralambasur. What does it indicate according to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's writings? Demons in Vrindavan Leela. And very clearly our Acharya is right. These are the demons which needs to be eradicated by an effort of a sadhaka. Yes, we are on the mercy path. It does not mean that we have no endeavor. So we become adhikari given a condition that I willfully go and voluntarily surrender. Now, do we go or not at the time of taking the initiation and say, my dear Spiritual Master, I take a vow to chant 69 for a great principle? So, which means we have taken that step forward. So, that's the point. So, last time I was explaining in the context of 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, but this is the idea. So, Adhikari, how did he qualify himself? Because he has accepted a spiritual master. He has agreed to follow his spiritual master. And then Srila Rupa Goswami says, well, not everyone is adhikari. Not everyone is adhikari. Oh, really? Not everyone? Even those who worship Krishna are not adhikari. And then he gives an example of 4 kinds of people who worship Krishna but are not adhikari of pure devotional service. Are you getting the whole subject matter now? And then he goes 7th chapter, verse number 16. Chaturvidha vajante mam jana sukirtino arjuna atho arthati gyani cha atho arthati gyani jigyasu cha bharata sabha. Now it is said there are 4 kinds of pious living entity who comes and takes shelter of Krishna. While for you to practice bhakti, it is not said you need to have sukriti. It is said you should have Bhakti Unmukha Sukriti, and that Bhakti Unmukha Sukriti must have been generated by the mercy of devotee. But when it comes to these four living entity types of four types of individuals who come and take shelter of Krishna, they need to be pious. And then they come and take shelter of Krishna. But they go to Krishna to ask from Krishna, not to serve Krishna. Therefore, they are not adhikari for practice pure devotional service. But a Kanishta adhikari is said to be adhikari, although he may have a lot of material desires, but at least he has taken one decision, or he has made one best choice in his life to follow a spiritual master or to accept somebody as a spiritual master. That's it. Is that okay? Give you some little clarification on this. So that was chapter 3, and then 3 types of devotees, then 4 kinds of pious soul who surrender, and then finally the chapter 3 ends with about how devotional service surpasses liberation. Bhukti Mukti Sprahakami. That subject matter comes, so that how the dangers for bhakti are from bhukti and mukti. Devotees very easily overcome bhukti, but mukti, of course, devotees surpass mukti also, but mukti is considered to a witch, a ghost that haunts you again and again. And then chapter 4 talks about how devotional services surpasses all kinds of liberation. How many types of liberation are there? There are 5 types of liberation. Vaikuntapati Prabhu, I just saw your hand now. Please go ahead.
Sorry, Prabhu, to disturb you.
Yes, please.
I've got a bit of confusion on this pious, the word pious. The word pious is very commonly used in the society. And pious means a person who is religious or devotional. So I was just trying to see the meaning also. Pious means sacred or devotional as distinct from the profane or secular. Religious, a pious opinion, showing loyal reverence for a person or thing dutifully is also called pious. This is the English dictionary meaning word, So in our books also, sometimes we find Prabhupada using the word pious also. But then this pious is a bit of a confusing for me. So can you please explain that?
So Srila Rupa Goswami defined there are 3 types of sukritis. One is karma, unmukha sukriti. Third is moksha, bhoga, unmukha sukriti, moksha, unmukha sukriti, and bhakti, unmukha sukriti. And sukriti is piety.
So can you just please repeat it? I will write it down, please.
Yeah, I'll tell you the section also. I just explained, but we didn't read from the book because we are given explanation. So this should come in chapter 3 only, because chapter 2 ends with Varnashrama, and chapter 3, if you would read after the second half of the chapter, then you will find this. So anyways, Bhoga Unmukha Sukriti, Moksha Unmukha Sukriti, and your Bhakti Unmukha Sukriti.
Bhakti?
Unmukha Sukriti. Unmukha Sukriti. Fine. Okay, so chapter number 4 then talks about how liberation, there are 5 kinds of liberation. And then finally, this chapter ends with Braja Bhakti is the highest, where we discuss about Vaikuntha versus Vrindavan. All right, now after a short recap, let's begin with chapter number 5, where now, before moving forward to the elements of Sadhana Bhakti, Srila Rupa Goswami once more not emphasizes actually, he kinds of bring a point that how Bhakti is all independent. Let's take a look at presentation, the purity of devotional service. Chapter 3 and 4, eligibility is only one is attraction. To practice any path of self-realization, one must have a great deal of preliminary qualifications, such as pious birth, performance of Vedic duties. Chapter 5 talks about that Bhakti is not dependent on above prerequisites. Bhakti is independent and self-sufficient. So let's take a look at the purity of pure devotional service.
All the previous instruction imparted by Srila Rupa Goswami in his broad statement can be summarized thus. As long as one is materially inclined of or desirous of merging into the spiritual effulgence, one cannot enter into the realm of pure devotional service. Next, Rupa Goswami states that devotional service is transcendental to all material consideration, and that is not limited to any particular country. class, society, or circumstance. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, devotional service is transcendental and has no cause. Devotional service is executed when any hope for gain and it cannot be checked by any material circumstances. It is open for all without any distinction, and it is the constitutional occupation of the living entities. In the Middle Ages, after the disappearance of Lord Chaitanya's great associate Lord Nityanand, a class of priestly persons claimed to be the descendants of Nityanand, calling themselves the Goswami caste. They further claimed that the practice and spreading of devotional service belonged only to their particular class, which was known as Nityanand Vamsha. In this way, they exercised their artificial power for some time until Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the powerful Acharya of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, completely smashed their idea. There was a great hard hurdle for some times, but it has turned out successfully, and it is now correctly and practically established that devotional service is not restricted to a particular class of men. Besides that, anyone who is engaged in devotional service is already at the status of being a high class Brahman. So, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's struggle for this movement has come out successful.
Hare Krishna. So, the purity of devotion service. Before we begin this discussion, Mother Kunti says dash, 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 dash. Four things. If somebody cannot call out the Lord's name with emotion and affection, who remembers dash and dash and dash and the fourth dash? There are four dashes.
Janma Ishwarja Shruto Srivi Edaman Madhapuman.
All right, yeah. Okay. I was waiting to everyone to raise their virtual hand.
Sorry.
What is the meaning, Prabhu? Correct.
Janma means high birth
Correct.
and having much opulence and thinking himself as the proprietor of the opulence. That is one.
Correct. Janma Aishwarya Shruta.
Shruta means famous.
No, Shruta means knowledge.
Or knowledge. Sri means beauty.
Beauty. Edaman means in an increasing order. So Janma Aishwarya Shruta Shivi. It leads to intoxication in increasing manner. Naivharti abhidahatum vai tvama kinchana gochana. So, anyways, Mother Kunti says somebody is born in a high family cannot approach you. So, this whole idea that somewhere this Goswami Vamsha or something has come up, it is not kind of justified or certified by the scriptures. That's the subject matter of this chapter. Let's take a look at it. Purity of devotional service. Every other process of self realization depends on external things. Jnana Yoga, need of peaceful, renounced disposition, and a highly developed intellect. Which means, your mind should be at peace with life. You cannot be so much affected by, desires. Second, Ashtanga Yoga, which has a rigid prerequisite. You have to be a sannyasi, renounced order. Then only you can perform Ashtanga Yoga. Third, Karma Kanda. These are not in orders. Actually, you should have started with the Karma Kanda. Karma Kanda, your Karma Kandi activity can only be successful agar Yajna has been done according to time, place, and ingredients are flawless. But when it comes to Bhakti, it's the only method which is completely pure from dependence on external prerequisites, which means Bhakti depends on none of these external factors which have been preconditions for other paths. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada titles this chapter The Purity of Devotional Service. Chapter means set of verses, and this becomes the theme of the set of verses by Srila Rupa Goswami. Bhakti is independent from the necessity of pious birth. First point. Bhakti Yoga, however, is very powerful. One need not wait for a pious birth before he can begin and perfect pure devotional service. On the contrary, by practicing devotional service, one becomes pious. Any example? They were born in a lower family. They were not even born in a human form, yet they excelled and were later on known to be a world famous devotees. Bolo?
Gajendra.
Gajendra. Okay. Hanuman.
Dhritarashtra.
Hanuman,
Hanuman.
As what else?
Dhritarashtra.
Hanu.
Dhritarashtra.
Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra.
Acha, Vritrasura. Sorry. So many of you were speaking now, so I heard it wrong. What to do? I have a strong attraction to Dhritarashtra, so sounds familiar to me. Okay. You said Vritrasura. Correct, Vritrasura. Oh, very wonderful example. Vritrasura, isn't it? Vritrasura. Correct. Vritrasura. Yes, what
Hanuman.
else? Haridas Thakur. Like this, many examples, right? So birth doesn't matter like this. All right. Moving forward on the slide, please. In every yuga, this is 11th canto, 12th chapter, verses 6 to 9. Let's have a reading partner so my throat will have some break. Somebody read in every yuga. Go ahead. Paro.
In every yuga, many living entities entangled in the modes of passion and ignorance gained the association of my devotees. Thus, such living entities as the Daityas, Rakshasas, birds, beasts, Gandharvas, Apsaras, Nagas, Siddhas, Charanas, Guhyakas, and Vidyadharas, as well as such lower class human beings as the Vaishyas, Shudras, women, and others, were able to achieve my supreme abode. Vitrasura, Prahlad, Prahlad Maharaj, and others like them also achieved my abode by association with my devotees, as did personalities such as Vrishaparva, Bali Maharaj, Banasur, Maya, Vibhishan, Sugriv, Hanuman, Jambavan, Gajendra, Jatayu, Tuladhar, Dharma Vyadha, Kubja, the gopis of in Vrindavan, and the wives of the Brahmins who were performing sacrifice.
So the point is, these all became because they were able to achieve my supreme abode because they were practicing bhakti. The question comes, are they had no piety. They were born into such a low family, and if you're born in a low family, means you must have done sinful thing in the past life. So those who have not got a human form of life, or even got human form of life, you're born in a cow flesh eating family, which means you must have done many sinful things in the past because of karmic reaction. Karmana deva netrena jantu de utpatte. So by all logic and shastra praman, they had lived a sinful life. Therefore, they're born into sinful family or a species. How did they become devotee? It's a valid question. So let's take a look the set of verses and puppet now. Please go ahead.
The importance of association with devotees is illustrated in the story of Dharmavyad, the non-violent hunter, as described in the Varaha Puran. In a previous life, he somehow became a Brahma Rakshas, or Brahman ghost, but was eventually saved. In a previous Kali Yuga, he had the association of a Vaishnav king named Vasu. The lady Kubja associated directly with Lord Krishna, and in her previous birth, she had associated with Sri Narad Muni. The gopis of Vrindavan rendered service to saintly persons in their previous births. Having had ample association with devotees, they became gopis in Vrindavan in their next lives and associated with the eternally liberated gopis who had descended there. They also had association with the Tulsi Devi or Vrinda Devi. The wives of Brahmins performing sacrifice had association with women sent by Lord Krishna to sell flower garlands, and betel nuts, and heard about the Lord from them.
So how did the bhakti started for all of them is through association of devotee. And this has been already established by Srila Rupa Goswami prior to what we're discussing, so based on Shastra Praman. All right. Prabhupada writes further, he quotes 1.2.6 to establish that how bhakti does not depend on your birth. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir dhoksache ahituki apratita yatma suprasitati. And Prabhupada writes, devotional service has no material cause and therefore it cannot be checked by any material circumstances. Bhakti is rendered without any hope for material gain. Bhakti is open for all. Bhakti is without any distinction, and it is constitutional occupation of soul. Why can't we do bhakti for material benefits? The Vedas prescribe two different types of occupation for the human being: pravritti and nivritti. Pravritti means the path of sense enjoyment, and nivritti is freedom, the path of renunciation. Prabhupada writes in 1.2.6 purport, I'm quoting from there, taking devotional service, Hare Krishna. Taking devotional service for material gain is an obstruction in the path of renunciation, enjoyment in deceased condition of life, which only encourages the symptoms of disease and its duration. Bhoga Aishwarya Prasaktana. Therefore, devotion service must be pure in quality without sense gratification. One should therefore accept devotion service of the Lord without any tinge of unnecessary desire, fruitive action, and philosophical speculation. This alone can lead one to perpetual solace in his service. This purport gives you more hints on the definition Anya Bhilashita Shunya. Why Srila Rupa Goswami had defined that? Prabhupada helps to understand. And then there is an example on this subject matter how bhakti is independent of pious birth. Srila Prabhupada says, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur fought hard to establish that pure devotion service is open to everyone regardless of birth. And we'll quote a more elaboration of this example. Prabhupada just write that. Let's take a look at it. What is example? In 1911, Siddhanta Saraswati took up a challenge against pseudo Vaishnavas who claimed that birth in their caste was a prerequisite for preaching Krishna consciousness. To give you an example, in Vrindavan Yatra, we would be visiting a place. I'll be speaking about it tomorrow when we discuss the forest of grace. Just the point came when I was making this point here right now. You know, how people are still very birth conscious or hereditary conscious. So even in Vrindavan Mathura area, there are certain places where Westerners cannot enter, not allowed. And one of that place is Neel Varaha temple in Mathura, which is right across Vishram Ghat, where Vishram Ghat is there. Right before that, there's Dwarkadish temple. And just prior to Dwarkadish temple, there are two Varaha temples, Neela Varaha and Shweta Varaha temple. So I believe Shweta Varaha, not the Neel Varaha. So there, if the Western devotees go, I don't know what's the current situation, but until some time ago, what I had heard from one of the Prabhupada disciples, if they would go there, they would just not allow them to enter the temple. They say, hey, what is this? You're not Vaishnavas, only Vaishnavas allowed here. So one devotee went along with life member of those who all were Indians. So they began to argue, what do you mean he's not Vaishnava? Don't you see him? How, what he's dressed and all that? Shivan had left everything and come over here. He said, what? Just putting dhoti, tilak, all this thing. You don't become Vaishnava. You have to be born in India. That was their premise of discussion like that. So then the Prabhupada disciple was making a point. This idea of birth consciousness, excuse me, is still pretty prevalent. Imagine what would be the challenge when Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur prior to that. So that's a point mentioned here. He took up a challenge against Shuro Vaishnava, and what happened?
In 1911,
Next paragraph.
caste conscious Brahman community was outraged by Bhakti Vinod Thakur's spiritual proofs that anyone regardless of birth could become a Brahman Vaishnava. How to prove the inferiority of the Vaishnavas arranged a discussion. Young Siddhanta
I guess
Saraswati.
I may give this example before also. So Bhakti Siddhanta had written an essay, The Conclusive Difference Between the Brahmana and the Vaishnava, and submitted it before the
his
father.
Despite his poor health, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur was elated to hear the arguments. Siddhanta Saraswati travelled to Midnapur, where Pandits from all over India had gathered for a 3-day discussion. Some of the Smartha Pandits who spoke first claimed that Anyone born in a Shudra family, even though initiated by a spiritual master, could never become purified and perform the Brahminical duties of worshipping the deity or initiating disciples. Finally, Siddhanta Saraswati delivered his speech. He began quoting Vedic references, glorifying the Brahmins, and at this, the Smarta scholars became very much pleased. Siddhanta Saraswati conclusively proved from the scriptures that if one is born as a Shudra but exhibits the qualities of a Brahman, then he should be honored as a Brahman despite his birth. And if one is born in a Brahman family but acts like a Shudra, then he is not a Brahman. After his speech, Siddhanta Saraswati was congratulated by the president of the conference, and thousands thronged around him. It was a victory for Vaishnavism.
Okay, that's sorry, I just lost the line. If one is born in a Brahmana family but acts like a Shudra, then he is not a Brahmana. After his speech, Siddhanta Saraswati was congratulated by the president of the conference, and thousands thronged around him. It was a victory for Vaishnavism. This is the point when everyone wanted to take a dust off his feet, and there was such a chaos in the whole scene over there. The in charge was smart enough. He got the bucket filled with water, put Siddhanta Saraswati's feet into that water, and then said, "Okay, so I've got the dust of his in this water. I did, achman for everyone." He threw sprinkles water like that. He said,
Voice is not coming over the Zoom.
"Yeah, I wasn't speaking for a while."
Okay, Guruji.
And they put a presentation. Can we just change it, bro? So that's the point over here, like this. Let's move for our next example. This is given in Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto itself. Kirathunandra pulinda pulkasha abhirashumbha yavana kasadaya ye anye cha papa yadapashraya shudhyanti tasmai prabhavishnave namaha. Translation, please.
Kirats, Hunas, Andhras, Pulindas, Pulkasash, Abhiras, Shumbhash, Yavanas, members of the
Andhras, huh? Somebody was saying Andhra Pradesh, huh?
members of Khash races and even others addicted to sinful acts can be purified by taking shelter of devotees of the Lord. Due to his being the supreme power, I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto him.
That was a joke about Andhra Pradesh, huh? Nobody should get offended. Kyo kaha mere janam sthan ko aisa. Text number, example number 3. This is from 7th canto. Yasya yal lakshanam proktam pumso varnabhi yanjakam yat anyatrapi drashyeta tatteneva vinirtishet.
If one shows the symptoms of being a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Sudra as described above, even if he has appeared in a different class, he should be accepted according to those symptoms of classification.
Yeah, so that's the point. Example number 4.
Padma Puran states that everyone, high born or low born, can take a cold early morning bath in Magh. The only qualification for such a cold bath in cold Magh is that his desire to have it. Similarly, if one has desire to it and attraction, he can take to Bhakti, Vasishtha tells Dilip.
And this is what has been quoted by Srila Rupa Goswami from Yatha Padme Sarve Adhikarino hi Atra Hari Bhakto Yatha Nrapaha. In the Padma Purana it said, all are qualified for Hari Bhakti. O King, Vasishtha telling King Dilipa. And there are many other references which Srila Rupa Goswami includes, quoting another reference. This is 1.2.62 Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Kashi Khande Chatatha. तो ये कशी खंड में कहा गया है अंत्यज्या अपि तद्राष्ट्रे शंखा चक्रंकधरिणः संप्रप्य वैष्णवं दीक्षं दीक्षिता इव संबभुः. Please read the on top.
In the country known as Mayuradhwaj, the lower caste people who are considered less than Shudras are also initiated in the Vaishnav cult of devotional service. And when they are properly dressed with tilak on their bodies and beads in their hand and on their necks, they appear to be coming from Vaikuntha. In fact, they look so very beautiful that immediately they surpass the ordinary Brahmanas.
I mean, it sounds like as if, this is talking about America of 1966, 67, which is a place of Malaysia's Yavanas. Like that has been described, which was never expected, but it happened like this. And now looks so wonderful. Then from Hari Bhakti Vilas, यथा कञ्चनतं यतीकं संयं रसविद्नतः तथा दीक्षाविधानेन द्विजतं जयते नृणम्.
Analogy of bell metal being converted to gold by mixture of mercury. Srila Prabhupada explained that powerful sages could drink mercury and bell metal, and then with their urine gold used to come out.
What not yogi can do. Do you know how the ocean water became salty? It's a homework question. If you want to know further, read Ramayana. Some suspense should be kept. All right. Do you know why the water in Yamuna is salty? We're gonna go for Yamuna Kara. Why the water in Vrindavan, even the underground water is in Vrindavan is salty? I'll tell you in Vrindavan Yatra. So, anyways, these are the references that Srila Rupa Goswami quoted. I've just kind of got the verses here just to help you connect with it. So now, just one thing I wanted to mention here additionally is the three. Can you please take off a photo? The reference is not visible. Oh, you pay attention on the screen there. You'll get confused over there. Yeah, over there. Correct. So three kind of birth. This is just an additional point here. So Bhagavatam says there are actually three kind of birth we undergo. Kim janmabhistribhirveha shukra savitra yagnikah कर्मभेर्वा त्रयी प्रोक्ते पुंसो अपि vudhayusha. A civilized human being has three kinds of births. The first, by a pure father and mother. And this birth is called birth by semen, shukra, or saukra, shaukra. The next birth takes place when one is initiated by the spiritual master, Savitra. And third birth is called Yagnika. Takes place when one is given the opportunity to worship Lord Vishnu, Brahman Diksha, like that. Despite the opportunities for attaining such birth, even if one gets the lifespan of a demigod, if one does not actually engage in the service of the Lord, everything is useless. So, Prabhupada writes a very beautiful purport describing how it happens in ISKCON kind of a thing. Please read out.
In our Krishna consciousness movement, we therefore offer the students his first initiation and allow him to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. By chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra regularly and following the regulative principles, one becomes qualified to be initiated as a Brahman. Because unless one is qualified Brahman, he cannot be allowed to worship Lord Vishnu. This is called
Yagnika Janma.
In our Krishna consciousness society, unless one is twice initiated, first by chanting Hare Krishna and second by the Gayatri mantra, he is not allowed to enter the kitchen or deity room to execute duties. However, when one is elevated to the platform on which he can worship the deity, his previous birth does not matter.
चंडालोपि द्विजाश्रेष्ठो हरिभक्ति परायणः हरिभक्ति विहीनश्च द्विजो अपि श्वापचातमः.
Even if one is born in the family of Chandal, if one engages in the devotional service of the Lord, he becomes the best of Brahmanas. But even a Brahman who is devoid of devotional service is on the level of the lower dog eaters, lowest dog eater. If a person is advanced in devotional service, it does not matter whether he was born in a Chandal family, he becomes purified.
So, as Shri Prahlad Maharaj said, Vipradvi Shadguna Yutad Aravinda Nabha Padaravinda Vimukha Shvapacham Varishtatam.
Even if one is Brahmana and is qualified with all the Brahmanical qualification, he is considered degraded if one is averse to worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But if a person is attached to the service of the Lord, he becomes glorified even if he is born a Chandal family. Indeed, such a Chandal can deliver not only himself but all the family preceders. Without devotional service, even a proud Brahman cannot deliver himself, and what to speak of his family. In many instances in the Shastras, it is seen that even a Brahman has become a Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudras, Malecha, or non-Brahmana. And there are many instances of ones being born a Kshatriya or Vaishya or even lower, and in the 18th year attaining elevation to the Brahmanical platform by the process of initiation.
This is the whole purpose. This is a very, very important verse. The three types of birth are described. And then Nad Muni says, Yasya yallakshanam proktam pumso varnabhivyanjakam yat anyatrapi drishyeta tattaneva vinirdishet.
It is not a fact that because one is born in a Brahman family, he is automatically a Brahman. He has a better chance to become a
Very
Brahman.
important. Just like if you're born in a Papa, this is so straightforward and logical. If you're born in a doctor's family, you have a better opportunity to get acquainted with the life of a doctor. And it will be easy for you to grasp thing what happens, but it does not give you right to be called as a doctor if you do not utilize that opportunity. Therefore, go ahead.
Yeah. So he has a better chance to become a doctor, but unless he meets all the Brahmanical qualification, he cannot be accepted as such. On the other hand, if the Brahmanical qualifications are found in the person of a Shudra, he should immediately be accepted as a Brahman. To substantiate there are many quotations from Bhagavatam, Mahabharata, Bharadwaj Samhita, and the Pancharatra, as well as many other scriptures.
The seventh example of how the bhakti is independent of pious birth. Madhya Lila 8, chapter 128 verse. Kiva vipra kiva nyasri shudra kene nai yahi Krishna tattva veta sai guru hai. Whether one is a Brahmana, sannyasi, or a Shudra, regardless of what he is, he can become a spiritual master if he knows the science of Krishna. This concludes our discussion on the subject matter of how bhakti is independent of one's pious birth. What is the summary of it? Well, it doesn't depend on either you're born in Brahmana family or Shudra family. Yes, if you're born in a higher family, it gives you the advantage. There's definitely an opportunity, great advantage to accept the path of bhakti. But if one misuses the opportunity, it does not give him a by default entitle or titlement to be a Vaishnava. Somebody could be born in a lower family, but if he takes to bhakti, follows the orders of Guru, and lives his life purely, then he is a qualified Vaishnava. After describing this, and we saw the example of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur also, like this. And in fact, Srila Prabhupada had to face so much crisis during his own time from his fellow, you can say what, maybe God brothers or the follow other spiritualists from India who were saying, oh, how can you make these Malichas and Yavanas into Brahmanas or sannyasis like that? Prabhupada had a lot of criticism from such individuals who believed it's a birthright, not in terms of your practice of bhakti. Then next, the subject matter is how bhakti is also independent of varnashrama dharma or Vedic dharma. Srila Rupa Goswami writes, the person qualified for bhakti is at fault for failing to perform all of the important angas of bhakti. But he is not at fault for failing to perform the duties of varna and ashrama. So there are 64 items, which is the next subject matter, which we'll introduce today. Maybe take some of them in discussion or at next time. So if you don't perform, then you are considered at fault. But there's no fault if you fail to perform your varna ashrama duties. If he by chance happens to commit some sin, now what to be done? What is the verse in Bhagavad Gita? Apiche sudharacharo bhajate mam ananyava. What is the next verse? Shipram bhavati dharmatma shashvat shanti vigachati. Shipram bhavati dhar. Shipram means बहुत जल्द. He is again situated back onto the platform of Dharmatma. Why? Because he doesn't have to perform any kind of atonement and prashita. Just if he remains fixed and determined in his vows and practice of bhakti, he is situated back like that. So if he by chance happens to commit some sin, there is no atonement prescribed for him. For whom? One who is steadfast in bhakti. Therefore, if by chance, not thoughtfully, by chance, because we accidentally, things can happen because the Maya Devi is very powerful. So little negligence, some may commit a mistake. If that happens, there's no atonement. He will not leave bhakti. His bhakti will take care. This is the opinion of those who know the secret of Vaishnava scriptures. So, idea is rather than dedicating time to Varnashrama duties, one should dedicate time to Vaishnava duties. That is a point here. Let's take a look. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur has to say something very interesting. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur's commentary on this subject matter.
It is a fault if those qualified for bhakti fails to perform the required angas of bhakti, such as observance of Ekadashi or Janmashtami. It is not a fault if they do not perform varnashram activities, if they commit forbidden acts because of influence of previous Vaishnava aparadh. Atonement is not required, since these pure devotees do not have a natural tendency for sinful actions. Bhakti alone acts as atonement. This is the conclusion of the Vaishnava scriptures.
So we don't, bhakti itself acts as an atonement. And there is a Shastric reference. Swapadamulam bhajataha priyasya त्यक्तन्यभवस्य हरिपरीशः विकर्म यच्चो पतितं कथञ्चित् दुनोति सर्वं हृदि सन्निविष्टः स्वपादमूलं भजता प्रियस्य त्यक्तन्यभावस्य हरिपरीशः विकर्म यच्चोत्पतितं कथञ्चित् धुनोति सर्वं हृदि सन्निविष्टः.
One who has thus given up all other engagements and has taken full shelter at the lotus feet of Hari is very dear to the Lord. Indeed, if such a surrendered soul accidentally commits some sinful activity, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is seated within everyone's heart, immediately takes away the reaction to such sin.
So, if such a surrender soul accidentally, once again, it's accidentally, not that who takes advantage of this promise of the Lord, commits aparadh thinking that, or commits sinful activity, not aparadh, commits sinful activity thinking that, anyways, I'll chant 2x around, it'll be taken care. To counteract bhakti, or to use bhakti for one's own personal sense gratification, that cannot be rectified by any kind of repentance. That's the point here. So how bhakti independent from Vedic dharma? त्यक्त्वा स्वधर्मं चरणाम्बुजं हरे भजन् अपक्वोतापते ततो यदि यत्र कवा भद्रम् अबोधमिष्य किं को वा ताप्तो भजतां स्वधर्मतः.
If someone gives up his occupational duties and works in Krishna consciousness and then falls down on the account of not completing his work, what loss is there on his part? Moreover, what can one gain if one performs his occupational duties perfectly but does not worship the Lord?
So why in what situation somebody is not able to complete his bhakti? There are two situations. One is there is an accidental fall down because of which he has stopped spiritual practice. He has got distracted, like we saw a Jamil case in the 6th canto. And second is an accidental case where one has met an untimely death, because of which he could not continue in that particular lifetime. Bhakti is independent from Vedic dharma. Rupa Goswami quotes on the reference, Devarshi bhutat narnama pitrana naking karo nayam rani charajan sarvatmanaya sharanam sharanyam gato mukundam paritya kartam.
Anyone who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda, the giver of liberation, given up all kinds of obligations and has taken to the path in all seriousness, owes neither duties nor obligations to the demigods, sages, general, living entities, family members, humankind, or forefathers.
So there is no need for one who has taken shelter of the Supreme Personality to take care of any kinds of debt which every living entity accrues after taking birth in this world. And then ultimately Krishna says, Sarvadharman Parityajamam ekam Sharan Vraja Aham Tvam Sarva Papevyo Mokshashyami Ma Suchaha. That's the idea. Swapadamulam Bhajata Priyasya. It ho gaya na abhi? Did I go back or forward? Yeah, like this. So this is the idea. Why my presentation suddenly ended here? So Vedic Dharma. All right. So this was about how it does not depend on the duties of Varna Ashrama, Dharma or Vedic Dharma. Fine. Any questions or anything? This is the subject matter. I have covered most of the references which Srila Rupa Goswami have mentioned in the 5th chapter. So just to summarize 5th chapter, it talks about how devotional service does not depend on any other practice. Bhakti is so pure that no impurity can touch bhakti. Does anyone remember any Shastric reference for it? We don't need anything. Bhakti, just to say to perform bhakti, we need some purity or some purification. It's not required. And therefore it said, I believe it's in Padma Puran from Padma. Om apavitro pavitro va sarva vashtam gato piva yasmare pundirikaksham sabhyabhyantara suchihi Shri Vishnu Shri Vishnu Shri Vishnu. Like that, you might have heard of the shloka. Like that, there are many, many references. So here, the pure devotion service, one need to perform only bhakti, and by practicing bhakti, everything can be taken care. The no prerequisite to take to bhakti is not that you have to be jnani, you have to be renunciate, nothing like that. We have discussed before also, too much jnana, too much renunciation becomes anti-bhakti. It doesn't favor bhakti. And then the second point was about, first point was this, second about the birth. Birth doesn't depend on you taking up bhakti or qualifies you for bhakti, neither the practice of swadharma, varnashrama responsibility, qualifies one. Yes, the practice of varnashrama dharma qualifies for you for what? Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. It may qualify you for moksha, but not bhakti. That's the point here. So bhakti is all independent, which covers our 5th chapter. Any questions or clarification on this? Otherwise, we go for a quick break and then we resume. Yes, Vaikuntapati Prabhu, please go ahead.
Prabhu, just one or two. One question is that, you talked about this Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati going for that congregation and proving that birth is not important and, even anybody can become a Vaishnava when it's a low born. No sense. Now, he went to, he did it in Bengal where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had preached so much. Haridas Thakur was there already at that time. And the people in Bengal are generally aware of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Haridas Thakur and their pastimes, etc. How is it that in spite of all these things, this doubt came in their mind and they were saying that only caste brahmanas can become Buddhists?
Actually, if you look at our parampara and the line, there had been, significant breaks also. For considerable time, there had been a missing personality of an influence that can drive away the influence of Kali. So, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the next generation was the Goswamis. But after that, Goswamis, if you look at it, after that, the next one comes as Narottam Das Thakur. Now, the gap between Narottam Das Thakur and the previous Goswamis was not much. Even Narottam Das Thakur was not accepted because he was from Kayastha background, Shudra background.
Correct.
And after Narottam Das Thakur, then to Vishnu Chakra Thakur, and then to Baldev Vidyabhushan. But Narottam Das Thakur to Vishnu Chakra Thakur, there was a considerable gap over a span of 100 years and more. And then from Baldev Vidyabhushan to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, there was again a considerable gap. So it just shows that how rampant Kali Yuga is, and to keep Kali Yuga at the corner or at a distance away, need powerful personalities. Despite being the presence of these powerful personalities, such things keep up stepping up again and again.
So this is like Evam Parampara Prapti.
Yeah.
So the chain of disciplic succession, this will break and...
I mean, the chain did not break.
I can accept.
Yeah, the chain did not break. There was a chain. The lineage was going on. There were many, many Nityananda Vamsha, Advaita Acharya. The chain was there, but there was no powerful Acharya mentioned if you look at the lineage. There's a big jump between the personalities. who can really drive away such misunderstandings. Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur fought. Bhaktivinoda Thakur fought. Srila Prabhupada fought. But maybe others, they were more of Bhajananandi type. So that thing prevailed like that.
Yeah. And I got one more question, Prabhu.
Yes.
Now, we also talked about this, says, if one fails to perform an anga of devotional service, then he is at fault. He may not follow the rules and regulations of Varnashrama Dharma. He may not do his duty as a Varnashrama Dharma. But if he fails to do any of the angas of the devotional service, he is at fault. Now, there are totally 64 angas for this.
Yes.
Now, I'm not asking questions. There are 64 angas. But now you see, the people who are performing the devotional service, they are not really aware of all these 64 angas, number one. And number two, even while doing one's devotional service on a daily basis also, many of us are at fault. Okay, I'm at fault. So what is my remedy?
So those are those are subject matters are taken care ahead. While performing devotion service, generally it leads to aparad, seva aparad, nam aparad and all that. And then how to counteract and how to handle it has been discussed also ahead. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, I mean, we'll see how much we can cover. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu doesn't go in details of countering those seva aparad or vigraha aparad, different aparad. Bhaktivinoda Thakur have written quite extensively on that, but at least we'll be introduced about it. All that subject matter is there.
There is some escape route available.
There is some escape. So one thing is the best route is to take shelter of the holy names of the Lord, chant more. When we'll study and we'll see whatever we can cover here, or else when you read further, best is to chant more, take shelter of the holy names. That is one of the best remedy which is mentioned for anything and everything. If in case we have felt like this, we have done even some mistakes, then we should increase our chanting. Even if there is a case of Vaishnava Prad, we don't know which Vaishnava, when did we commit a Prad, but something has happened, it's troubling us in our spiritual life, then chant more. The chanting is a means which actually, this kind of severe offenses are also eradicated over a period of time. There is no other practice
The
as
problem
such.
itself is there only. In Namaprad only, we all get stuck.
Namaprad also, I mean, not necessarily Namaprad. There is a difference between Namaprad and Namabhas. So, Hainam Chintamani mentions. So, Namaprad stage is not where I would say most of us are. I would say Namabhas. Namaprad stage, as has been defined, is something which has been done unintentionally, jokingly, mockingly. Even that, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, some of it qualifies into Namabhas. Like that. So, in fact, in his Harinam Chintamani, he doesn't even write much about Namaprad. He elaborates much on Namabhas stages, like that. So, yes, there are 10 offenses that we do. Inattentive chanting and all that is one of the foremost cause. And the cause of inattentive chanting is also mentioned by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He had written several books, Bhajan Rahasya, Harinam Chintamani, on the subject matters like that. So, but some in substance, what I have learned from all this books that at least I have read at my level is, and when you read Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu also, chanting. If anything, we want to, really overcome anything, we need to increase our chanting. We need to chant more rounds. 16 rounds is just a bare minimum. It's just a minimum survival mode. It ain't taking us really to great heights. It's a survival mode. We got to chant more. Of course, although I'm saying it, I know sometimes it's difficult for me also, but I'm at least saying what is there in the scriptures. I'm not saying I do it myself every day, chant extra rounds. It's not possible. Of course, I need to take out time. Life is sometimes busy, but we should try when there's an opportunity. That's the remedy for all the offenses, for all the mistakes that have happened, knowingly, unknowingly. Fine.
Thank you.
All right, so it's 2:30. Let's take a break for 10 minutes and we'll resume at 2:40. Oh, Nikhil.